Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video, and today we'll be taking a look at the Cheerson CX117. Now this is a little 2S, a micro brushed FPV quad that GearBest sent in to review, so thank you for that. Open up the box here, and as you can see, you have to build this one. And I honestly did not know this until it showed up from the site. From the pictures, it shows pre-built pictures, and I didn't take the time to read the description. I actually thought this one was pre-built, but you can see, obviously you need to build it. It shouldn't be very hard though, mostly plug and play. And brush stuff's a lot easier than brushless to build. We got some sets of props. These are pretty unique. I'm pretty sure they made these specifically for this. I've never seen these before. These are sort of a Hubsan style leaf on the end with that curve, and then they're a tri-blade. So it'd be interesting to try those out. And they're quite large for micro quad. Got a couple little nylon standoffs, some Velcro and rubber bands for batteries. A couple little motor grommet holders. Looks like this will be the FC flight controller probably. Yep, so this is an F3 Evo Mini. So this is actually running a F3 flight controller, so it's a real flight controller. So you can see with the little micro USB connector, you'll be able to program this with Betaflight, CleanFlight, however you want, to actually tune it. So this should fly a lot better than most other micros, and the F3 is an added bonus over an F1. Here we've got a little 2S battery, and I like how everything's individually wrapped. It's nice. See, it comes with its own 2S battery, which is really nice because 2S batteries in this size you might have a little more trouble to find over just because 1S, everyone has a ton of 1S from all the toy quads, but if you have some of the other ones, so it's nice that they include this. This is a 2S 600 milliamp hour battery. You can see there it says fully max. Don't know what that means, probably the brand. Sorry. And here is the micro LOSI connector for your main power connector, and the JST 2S balance plug right there. And they also include a little USB balance charger, which is nice. See, it looks like it outputs 500 milliamps, so it should take around an hour and 10 minutes to charge this back up, because it just uses off the USB connector, not a full wall input. Then in here, let's check. Okay. Quite a nice little box, nice for shipping to keep that faster and cheaper. This bag, we've got some motors right here, and wow, these are large. Okay, these are definitely 8.5 millimeter motors. You can see they just have the ends pre-stripped and pre-tinned, which is nice. You got two of each direction there. Nice, okay. And lastly, we have this bag, which contains the frame, which it looks like it's actually carbon. And I don't know how they got it in that bag. So yeah, it's a little tiny carbon fiber frame, probably 1.5 millimeters thick, but it should be plenty enough for this application. You're definitely not going to be stressing it much. It should keep it pretty light. And here we just got some extra, looks like these are landing feet and battery plates and VTX adapters there. And the camera, it actually comes with its own camera. I had already taken it out, the FX798T. But if you've seen my F36 video, the Furry B1, this is the little camera it comes with in the video transmitter. And it has a little plug on that. It might plug right in, you might have to cut that off, but I'll have to be taking this camera back off to put back in this kit. But I had to scrap the camera from here for that. But the camera's also included. It's a video transmitter and camera all in one. Okay, so now let's get to, I'll do a little build video on this. It shouldn't be very hard. Probably just, you know, the board probably velcros in or something. I'll figure it out as we go. And oh, there's also JST or a micro LOSI for your battery in here, so that's nice. So let's get to building this, and then we'll fly it around line of sight, and we'll fly around indoors, and we'll finish up the review. Alright, here we are with all the parts laid out. We have our frame components, all that, with our little battery wire. I've got the flight controller, which is the F3 brushed Mini Evo, I think. The 10 millimeter brushed motors, our battery, and our little camera VTX combo all in one. And the only thing you need to supply here is your receiver. That's the only thing, so you choose whatever brand and protocol you need. This is the FreeSky XM Plus receiver. It's about $10. I get these from Pyroflip, and they're super tiny, super lightweight, and they give you great range, and you can use your FreeSky Tyrannus with it. So it's a huge plus. So let's get into building this guy. Alright, so first we're going to do up the FC. As you can see, they give you your own little micro LOSI connector, which is nice. for the battery, and I believe that is just these two pads right here. See, this one is positive and this one is negative, so we're going to solder those on, as well as on the board we need to, if I can find it real quick, you see these three little pads over here. I'll try and zoom in camera, but these three little pads. Down here it says 1S right here, and up here it says 2S. The still screen's just moved too far up because of this little capacitor. But since we're going to be using a 2S battery here, we need to bridge the top little two pads together, which I will show you. So let's do that. Let's get these wires to tin, and I'm using a lower temperature on this as well as a smaller tip for my iron. Okay, let's tin the B plus and B minus for the battery here. And just in case you're curious, I'm using 340 degrees Celsius for this. That's what I usually use, so the red will go to the plus here. Okay, there we go. There's that right there for our battery connector leads. You can put them on either side if you want. There's pads on the back too. So now let's get these little guys right next to it, which is going to be hard. Alright, there we go. I got that. Those two little pads bridged. It was pretty difficult. I had to do a little bit off camera, but once you get it, you should be good there. Those two on the top by the 2S. So let's move on. Okay, next let's mount the motors into the frame. So this will be good for now. We're still going to have to add the camera power from this, as well as the receiver power and signal, but we'll do that later. So for the frame, this is the front here. The camera basically just sits here, and then this little pleat comes back here and makes a little stack with this nice little cutout up front for the camera to just sit into like that. But we're not going to be using that now. We're going to need these little rubber things, these little grommets for the motors. You basically just have to stick them in the holes, get one side, on the other side. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but if you just squish it, maybe use tweezers, you can get it in there. Careful not to break your frame since it's so thin. But there we go, that's the first one. So this is the front left motor. So the front left and rear right motors are the red and blue colored wires here. And then the front right and back left are the black and white. So this should just put the wires through here. And then just twist it down, kind of squish it in there. These are just held friction fit. Then these little feet go in like this. You kind of have to split the wires to like do one on either side of it. Okay, so that's how the motor's going to look. Basically, you just put that down in. It was kind of hard to get that in there, and these mounts do go one way with the longer leg towards the middle of the body. I found that was the only way to get it in. Then push it down against the bottom. You can see the butt cap of the motor is resting against the carbon, and then these wires will go up along the arms of the flight controller. But I've had a lot of issues with brush motors in the past, especially when you land on the wires, that these little connections into the cap of the motor break off. So I'm going to actually put a dab of hot glue on all of these to sort of bend them over, because you want to be very gentle with these. And even though it's going to be landing on these feet, once those come out, you can never get them back in. So you basically broke a motor just by losing the wires. So I'm going to put a dab of hot glue just to protect that, and I'll do the other four motors and we'll continue from there. Alright, all four motors are installed correctly, and just make sure that when using these grommets that you get them straight up and down both ways and all the way at the same level. And you can also see, hopefully, just the little bit of hot glue, if it'll focus, that I put on the ends of those to help protect there. So this is the back here. So the flight controller is going to mount just about like that. And I guess they want you to use this double-sided sticky tape because that looks about the right size. Just make sure you cover everything because you don't want to short anything on the back here. Okay, get that wire out of there. just put this guy on. No idea how far back it should be. Probably want to be as far back as possible to keep it out of the way of the camera. Yeah, that's actually really solid on there, and we should have just enough room up front on this carbon to put the camera, so that's okay. So next, for the motor wires, I'm going to come up through these little holes in the frame. Actually, no, that's for the standoff, so it can just come up anywhere. But these are actually really long, and they're going to go to these motor pads, and they're labeled M1, M2, M3, M4 on there, so that's really easy. So basically, I'm just going to twist these up, and then I don't want to leave these that long. I'll have to cut them and re-strip them and then place them on there. And for the ground pads, all the ground pads are facing towards the front. So let me get my tweezers here. So this pad on motor 1, the top pad is ground. Top pad up here for motor 2 is ground. Top pad for 3 is ground, and top pad for 4 is ground. And on the red and blue, the blue is the ground wire, and on the white and black, the black is the ground wire. So just wire them up all that way. I'll show you when I'm done, because I'm going to cut and resize them. Alright, all the wires are in. You can see I just twisted them and ran them up through the little holes in the plates there that I missed earlier, of course. And I actually got really lazy and didn't want to cut and restrip these because I'm kind of pressed on time here, so I just kind of bundled them up and put a tack of glue down there, and they just go there. So it's not the best thing. It looks really bad, and it's adding a little bit of weight. So if you have the time and the patience, it'd be better to resize these with a little bit of twist. So next, we're going to put the camera on, and this is really simple. This comes with a connector on, but I already cut it off because I've already used this in a different build. But basically, this is going to be the perfect amount of wire anyways, because it just is going to sit up front here, and then these two wires are going to go to the 5-volt pad right here and the ground pad right there. So it's going to be super simple. Just put probably a little bit of hot glue and then put those wires over. And if you want a camera tilt, I'll probably do like 5 degrees camera tilt. You can put that in as well. Alright, camera is now mounted, and actually they did include a little size of that little double-sided sticky patch on there to mount the camera. It fits perfectly under there. But I also added a row of hot glue underneath it on the front before I put it down to get, I don't know, maybe like a 5-degree up angle up tilt. You can do that however you would like. You can see it just fits in there, and then the 5-volt and ground over here. So next, for the receiver here, this is the FreeSky XM Plus once again. There's a little square pad, which is the signal. You can probably see it better on this side. The square pad is signal, and then you have voltage next to it and ground on the end. And up here, these pads, oops. Let's see if I can show it. These pads up here is the signal, and then the voltage, and then the ground. You can see this, and there's a diagram on my PDF file that I'm referencing here. So basically, these should just kind of come in like that. I probably made them a little too long. We'll probably have to circle around, do something like that, and then I'll just stick the antennas out the back, hopefully. Alright, the receiver is now all installed there. I just wrapped it around with a little drop of hot glue, and it would be a good idea to bind your receiver before continuing now, because you might have a little trouble. But basically next we're going to have to put these little standoffs in. These just go up through the back here with these little screws. These screws just go up under in the standoffs, and then these side plates go on here, and they just hook in like this basically to the bottom. They do the same thing to the top. They just hook together. Actually, they go the other way like that, and then the back screws just go in through these holes. So it's really simple, and it gets it tightened up, and then you can put your antennas out the back. So we'll finish that up, and then also these two little rubbery things are for the battery, I'm assuming. Put one here and one here and one here to keep the battery from slipping. And then these rubber bands will basically just come around these hooks like that and hold the battery in. Alright, so there we go. It is all built up. You can see I just added the side plates and the receiver. I just hot glued that on there, but you probably should have. I probably should have done this because I'm going to have to take this apart. Short the boot pads if you want to upgrade, flash the flight controller to the newest version of Betaflight, which I'll be doing. So I'll probably have to take this bag apart to get at those little pads to bridge, the boot pads. And you can see I just hot glued the receiver antennas kind of out the back here, which is really bad. Like, they're exposed and not in great orientation, so you're not going to get great range. But on something this small, we're going to be flying it indoors, or at least close, sort of, to outdoors. On Free Sky, I don't think Free Sky is just amazing for control, and that's really not that bad. Just, I didn't want to get them chopped up, so they should be okay there. So, let's set it up. Alright, so let's get connected up to Betaflight, and it is worth noting that this board does come with Betaflight 3.0.1 already flashed, but if you're like me and you always want to be on the newest, go down to the firmware flasher, select the SPF3 Evo, and then I chose 3.1.6. These are the settings right here: full chip erase and manual baud rate 115200. Load the firmware online, and then hit flash. And if you, for some reason, I accidentally flashed the wrong firmware the first time, I flashed the F3 Mini right here. So it kind of bricked the board, so you have to also, I'll flash a picture on screen here. You have to open up and solder together the boot pads, which are those two little pads with a V next to it. Solder that, and then it'll go into DFU mode up here, and then you can flash it back, and then unbridge the pad once you're done, and you should be all good. So I've already done that, so let's plug in, and let's hit connect. And it doesn't look like it got the right COM port for me. So there we go. So first we're going to make sure everything's working. If you tilt the quad around, make sure it's moving correctly like that. I'm going to place it on a flat surface. Calibrate the accelerometer there. We're going to go over to ports. And then we soldered our receiver onto UART2. So we're going to go over here to serial RX. Save and reboot. And it looks like it's going to kick us out there. Some boards do that. I'm not 100% sure why, but it did save the change. Let's go to configuration, and when you flash this firmware, Betaflight realizes that it is a brush board, so it automatically switches this. However, the stock firmware comes with one shot 125 selected, so if you plug in your battery, the motors would all start spinning up. So make sure you set this to brushed here. And then I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm actually going to want my motors. I don't know. I'm going to leave them spin, kind of like an air mode thing. I'm not exactly sure. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to turn off VBAT. I didn't set up that. Over here, I'm going to select S-Bus right here. And then S-Bus again. Turn off the current meter. I didn't set up that. This is the CX117. Wonder why this camera angle thing is here. I don't know if that's a mix or that's just to help you remember what you have it set at. Okay, so these, I'm not sure. I'm going to try 4K on this board. I'm not exactly sure what it can handle, but I'll do 4K. I have the accelerometer turned on because I am going to be running auto level, horizon, and acro, just because indoor quad, I thought I'd see how it feels, even though I always fly full acro. Turn off black box, turn off telemetry, turn off transpod. I don't know why these are all on, actually. SD card. I'm going to turn air mode on. Save and reboot. Okay. Make sure it saved everything. There we go. So fail safe. So I always set these to 4 and 4 to drop quickly. And once again, save and reboot. And set your transmitter to no pulses too as well, and give the receiver one little click on the button. PID tuning, I'm going to, since I'm going to be trying to fly this indoors, I'm actually going to leave the rates stock because I don't want to be getting it super crazy. I'm actually going to increase the deset point up just a little bit there to make it a little bit more snappy. It's the first time I actually ever changed that. See how it goes. Receiver, turn on the transmitter here.
Welcome to OpenTX.
You can just verify that everything is moving correctly in the configurator. Right there with our sticks, and then I can trim it out because these these gimbals are getting quite old. See, they're jiggling around a little bit. You don't always
trim center.
Recenter. So I'm actually going to add some deadband in just because my gimbals are kind of old. So let's save that and see if that helps at all. Maybe a little bit. Alright. So that looks good there. I don't know why Ox12 is going crazy. But let's see if our switches are working. Yep, 2 switches are set up. Go into modes. I'm going to add arm, I'm going to add angle, and I'm going to add horizon. So arm I set up on channel 5, so it's aux1 here because it's the first auxiliary channel after your first 4, which are mandatory for control. So I want it to be here, so I'm going to move that over. Then angle and horizon are on a 3-position switch, so channel 6, so auxiliary 2. And you can see I'm going to move that. So up I want to be angle, middle I want to be horizon, and then acro is when there's nothing else selected over here. So this will be angle in the top position, horizon in the middle, and acro at the end. And that should be it for there. And I think that should be good. So let's see what our motors spin at actually, because I'm not sure what to set the min throttle to. So as usual, make sure your props are off. Boy, I'm a dummy. Didn't even plug in my battery. Such a good reviewer. Alright, let's see if these spin up. Really kind of hard to tell that they are spinning. Looking at them here without a prop on. They start up at like 1020, so I'm going to go back here, and because these are super low, I'll probably, let's go to 10. Let's just do 1060 just to be sure here, and then we'll save and reboot and see when I arm it. Yeah, that's probably about good for brushed. And I'm going to get into the CLI here and get underscore min underscore check. Right there, you can see the min check is 1100. So if you notice there's a lot of deadband at the bottom of your throttle, you're going to want to change this. Go into receiver here. Go into receiver, and you can see my throttle always comes down to 987 just because of I didn't adjust my endpoints for this model. I was a little too lazy, but I'm actually going to set underscore min underscore check and then equals 1005 because I know that's a good value for my radio, and then I'll get rid of a lot of the deadband, and then type save and hit enter in the bottom of the throttle. So should be ready to go. So let's slap some props on. I'll do a couple flights, line of sight and FPV, just to get a feel for it, and then I'll come back and do some for you on camera, and we'll finish up the review. Alright, here we are outdoors with the CX117 after a couple more days of flight testing. I'm ready to show you guys it. So you can see I'm actually outside. I was going to do this indoors, but the more I thought about it, it's kind of a little bit big and it couldn't show you too much indoors, especially line of sight. FPV is alright, and it's just such a nice day out. It's still really cold, but I haven't got a sunny day like this in like 3 weeks that I can film. So I need to take every opportunity I can get. So just going to plug it in and just kind of squish the cables back. There's no real great way. I kind of just put them like that and they stay long enough. My radio's already on, and we can just arm here. Okay, there we go. I'll let you listen to it first. It's fairly quiet. This is still flying in self-leveling, so angle mode. Just because I set that up, because probably some of you guys getting this will want that. You see, it actually flies very well in angle mode. The tune isn't that bad because 2S, it has a little bit more power. It can handle itself better. It's still nothing like a 5-inch, but it's definitely better than a 1S tiny little, like a tiny whoop. So let's switch it to fully acro now. So this is no self-leveling. See, those are the rates I set. I actually upped them up a little bit because stock Betaflight was too low to do flips in any timely manner on a quad with this not much power. So this is a full throttle punch right here. So you can see there's actually, it doesn't have much vertical power, but it's got a pretty decent cruising speed at about half throttle. And you'll be able to see that more in the FPV footage that I show you. Once again, this acro here. So it doesn't have that much power, even though it is 10mm 2S brushed. I think that's just because it's kind of heavy. It's like 100 grams, and that's partially due to the 600 milliamp hour 2S battery. I feel like they went a little bit too big on that, but that does give you very good flight times. You get like 10 minutes flight time in this guy, which is crazy. So it's definitely a good trainer, I would say, if obviously if you don't crash. It's pretty durable. but you can stay up in the air for a long time on one battery. Yeah, it's kind of relaxing to fly. It's got a nice sound to it since it's a little brush quad with the tri-blades. It's got a nice sound. Nothing too crazy powerful, but certainly not that weak. So it's good enough line of sight. So let's just bring it in here. And there we go. So let's do some indoor FPV and then some outdoor FPV, and we'll wrap it up. Alright, so hopefully you enjoyed those flights. So let's finish up. And just real quickly, you didn't notice it probably as much on the indoor one, but on the outdoor one, the pixelation on the video was just terrible. I'm not sure why my DVR just crapped out so hard there, because it definitely did not look like that in my goggles. So hopefully you can see past that. I actually quite like this camera. It handles light very good. It's a pretty good camera, and I definitely got very good range and signal off the 25 milliwatt VTX using my quantum diversity, my goggles with diversity. You know, pretty good range there. As for probably the main down point of this quad is it's a 2S brush micro, kind of intended for indoors, but then it doesn't have prop guards. So you are going to be breaking some props. As you can see, I've got some props here. But surprisingly, a lot of the crashes I've had, nicks into the wall and hitting off of stuff, it bounced off pretty well with just like a little bent tip or something like that. So it was still able to stay in the air and keep flying, but a couple crashes I did have the failures. And they do offer actually prop guards for this, but you're going to probably be adding like 5 more grams. And this is already quite heavy at 96 grams due to this 600 milliamp hour battery. But that does give you extremely long flight times. It's pretty efficient, this setup. With that large capacity, you get 10 minutes of flight time, and you could probably get like 13 if you were just hovering. So that's really nice. The charger it comes with, just a little USB charger. Takes a little over an hour to charge. It's alright, it's a balanced charger. But one of the nice things is it's got a couple lights in here. It flashes green while it's charging and solid green when it's done. I thought that was pretty neat. Obviously, one of the big selling points of this is you can fly it with a real hobby-grade radio, such as something like a Taranis here, which will also definitely give you incredible range off your receiver, far past this 25 milliwatts can handle. And, you know, you get better stick feel, as well as the board, the F3. You have a ton of flexibility to tune it as you wish. I actually did not PID tune this guy at all. All I did was adjust the yaw P up from 7 to 10, because I know on these little brush micros it doesn't have much yaw authority, so I just bumped that up. But other than that, it flew perfectly fine. You're not going to be able to do much on something like this. But overall, I was very happy with it, and I definitely do recommend it. Maybe not so much if you're a beginner. I mean, the build was pretty easy, and it is very durable besides the props. You know, I guess it's really just if you want. I think it'd be a pretty decent beginner option, especially because of the long flight times. And also, since this video was kind of more an all-of-one, the unboxing, the build, then all the flights, and then finishing up with a review, let me know if you like that type of all-in-one video more. I definitely know it's quite a bit longer. I definitely have a ton of footage on this one, so let me know if you like that. I'll leave a link down below to GearBest to check this kit out if you wish to look up more of these specifics on it or purchase it. And please subscribe if you want already, and I'll see you in the next video.